it comes from repetition. It comes from being afraid and showing up and doing it anyways, and giving yourself more opportunities to get up to bat. You're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
You're going to mess up. You're going to say the wrong thing. You're not going to have answers to all of their questions. But for me, it's in those moments where like I mess up or I don't have the answer that I learn the most, because I guarantee I might make a fool of myself one time, but then I'm going to go learn the answer and I'm not going to do that again.
How many times have we shared the after picture without sharing how long the journey was? This is something that if you are willing to fall on your face, you can do it. The question is, are you willing to get back up? My name is Josh, and I'm your push coach. I'm the #1 best-selling author of F Leadership, and for the last 6 years, I've helped over 40,000 entrepreneurs to take ownership of their businesses and create tangible results that have changed their businesses and lives forever. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to Your Push Coach. My name is Josh. I'm your push coach. So excited to hang out with you guys today. I've got another guest for you today, and we are going to be jamming today on the mindset of sales. So if you are someone who is listening to this and you're like, I want to work with clients, I want to help people, I want to make a difference, but oh my God, the idea of actually having that conversation or whatever that looks like in that process, it scares me, it kills me, it makes me go crazy. Keep listening, because we're going to jam on that today. And I'm super excited. I have got Shelby Hughson, who is a health and wellness coach of 4 years and also does professional sales for a living in the corporate world, which is super cool. So we're going to I love the idea of seeing like different worlds collide, because I think that sometimes in one world, we have things that work really, really, really well. And we go to another world, we think it's totally polar opposite. It has to be completely different. And I actually think that there are a lot of things that mesh and jive in multiple worlds. So we're going to dig into that today. And I'm really excited. Shelby, thanks for being here.
Thanks so much. I'm super excited too.
Awesome. Well, let's dig right in. I want to talk a little bit, we were chatting a little bit before we hit record about some of the limiting beliefs people have around sales. And we brought up rejection. So let's dive into that one first, because that one's the juicy one, right? Like the second people just hear that, like fear of rejection, I think everyone immediately is like, yep, I need to hear this. So let's dive into that. What is some of the things you see with people that you're mentoring and training, or maybe even some things that you dealt with yourself around this idea of rejection?
Absolutely. I think for me in the beginning, especially in my corporate job, I was so scared to like send an email or even pick up the phone, because I'm like, what if I don't know the right thing to say? What if I don't have the answer to their question?
Yeah.
What if, what if I just kind of make a fool of myself? And so it was almost like what I didn't even want to try. I didn't want to put myself out there because I was so scared of like it not being received on the other end.
Right.
And I see that, like I said, I saw that in myself, especially in my corporate job. And I see that in the people that I mentor as well, of it's almost this like lack of confidence, or like we think we have a lack of confidence or belief in what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So we're scared to even try in the first place. And I see so many people let that hold them back from even engaging in conversation with your potential clients.
Right. So, okay, I love this. What if I don't know the right thing to say? If you're listening right now, nod your head. I know I can't see you, but nod your head anyways, if like you can relate to that. So how did you kind of like deal with this?
I am a big person of ripping off the Band-Aid. And so in my corporate job, I do like full sales calls, full demos of the product that I sell. And it started with me like literally writing word for word a script in order to get comfortable with what I was talking about. Yeah. And what I noticed for me is as I started to build the belief, words are hard today, as I started to build the belief in what I was selling by taking a step back and understanding it better myself, I got more comfortable talking about the product, the service.
Yeah.
But I also think it comes from repetition. It comes from being afraid and showing up and doing it anyways, and giving yourself more opportunities to get up to bat. You're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
You're going to mess up. You're going to say the wrong thing. You're not going to have answers to all of their questions. But for me, it's in those moments where like I mess up or I don't have the answer that I learn the most, because I guarantee I might make a fool of myself one time, but then I'm going to go learn the answer and I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah, no, and I'm the same way, even with my presentations. Like last night, I did a big webinar, and literally, like this morning, I woke up and the first thing I did was message my team and said, okay, let's tear it apart. What did I do wrong last night? Where did the energy fall off? What could I have done better? Because I want to get it while it's fresh in our brains. If we wait till 2 or 3 weeks later, we kind of forget the experience. And I think that people are so afraid to fail that they never get the chance to learn how to become better. They don't realize like it's in the failure that we actually learn how to get it right. And it was the same for me as a life coach. I had to just go sit down with people and have coffee and just go for it. I had to just be like, I don't know where the hell this is going to go. I'm just going to start asking questions and see how. But it was in that I really developed my confidence and found what I would call like my power questions, which are, okay, when someone says this, if I ask this question, it gets them to like dig in and see what they need every single time. And you don't find that without asking enough questions to kind of like figure out how people do respond. So like, how do you think we deal with like this failure of like, okay, like if I fail, it says something about me.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think first is knowing too that in those failures, if you say the wrong thing, if you mess up, it doesn't mean you've like ruined the whole thing and this person like isn't gonna be into. I think it makes you human. It makes part of you human. And I think part of that too is like admitting what you don't know, right? And so that's a great question. I don't have the answer for you, but here I'm gonna go find the answer and come back and I'll send you a follow-up email or I'll message you and let you know, right? So I think it comes from like being honest too. It gives you that like human aspect. Yeah. The other side of this is like also having a growth mindset. So I know that like just because I failed at something doesn't mean that I'm a failure. Right. It means that I have an opportunity to grow. And if this is something new, of course you're going to suck. Of course you're going to fail, right? Nobody starts out like nobody is born a professional salesperson, or nobody is born like great at this. This is a skill that you have to develop. And so I think starting from that mindset of knowing like, okay, I'm going to mess up and then I'm going to get feedback, and the feedback might be in the form of the way the other person responds. I'm going to collect that as data and then apply it for next time.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's so important because like really, if you just like pull away, and I love to do this all the time, is pull away from the thing that I'm currently emotionally attached to. I play 3 different instruments. Every single one of them, I sounded like absolute crap for like 9 months before something finally started to click a little. I also played 4 sports growing up, and every single sport was exactly the same way. The first 1 or 2 seasons, I was the worst kid on the team, but I was the kind of kid that also practiced like every day of the week, and just kind of out of nowhere, things would always find a way to just click. And there was really no rhyme or reason for it. It wasn't like, okay, after you've practiced this many hours, it was more of like, I just wanted so bad to play that guitar or to be good at basketball. I loved it enough that I was willing to do the work it takes. And I think that sometimes we forget and we're like, yeah, but like, they're just like naturally talented. And it's like, I've never had any natural talent. Everything that I've ever done, I've had to really work for. And I know that that's like not a sexy topic online right now. It's like not sexy at all to like need to work for anything. It's something I'm working on putting back into my message, because the last year I feel like I've lost a little bit of the hustle in my message. Yeah. And I think that it can be a triggering word if taken to the extreme and done the wrong way. But like, we can't
100%.
forget that there is some work involved, or we're all a bunch of like scam artists, right?
Absolutely. I think that's where like it comes with having the vision paired with the hustle, right? And there's people who are very far to one side or very far to the other. But in my experience, it really takes like understanding the goal, understanding the vision, understanding the dream, and understanding the work that's going to be required to get there.
Absolutely. And then, of course, just the one thing that I love to just like add to that is also the boundaries. Like, here's the goal I have. Here's the work that I'm willing to do to get there. And here's the boundaries on like setting up in advance limits so that I'm not working 12 hours a day and ruining my personal life. But like having boundaries and a work ethic can completely exist together. And so I think it like people hear like the hustle, and they think we mean work until you're like hustle your face off. And it's more about, it's more about being persistent, about doing the right things. Like you wouldn't go to the gym for 6 hours a day. It's not healthy. It'll destroy your hormones. It'll just absolutely screw you up. But you do have to take that hour that you're going to put in and be really intentional and a little aggressive with that 1 hour, or you're not going to see any changes at all.
Yeah, I love that analogy. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So let's talk about one of the other things you mentioned, which is people are scared to death. And I love to joke that this isn't even a real word. Like our entrepreneurial space invented a new word to go along with a limiting belief, which is they don't want to be salesy. I don't even think that is actual English. The word salesy is a word we made up, right? Based on some type of like an identity that we probably picked up on like at the car dealership, right? So people are afraid of being salesy. How do you kind of like address that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I even see it in myself when people are like, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm a salesperson. And people are like, right? So it is, I think knowing like anything you've ever purchased or signed up for or done, someone sold you on that. Whether you knew they were selling you intentionally or maybe you didn't realize you were being sold. Maybe it was a person, maybe it wasn't even a person, but every business and service has marketing, and marketing is to convert sales, right? And so I think knowing that, I think people associate the word salesy with, like you said, the car dealership or the person that's like breathing down your neck while you're just trying to browse.
Right.
And you know, that's not what we're doing. That's a choice. That's like how you decide to show up in your business. And so for me, it was like sitting down and looking at, okay, what feels good? And that's what I lead with of, you know, anything that I'm going to offer is like, how would I want this to be presented to me? Yeah. Right. And sometimes that is like, for me, a slide into the DMs or a cold call for my corporate job, or an email, but just understanding like, if someone was selling this to me this way, would I feel like that was salesy, or I would be excited that they're offering it to me?
Yeah. Yes. And this is something I call sales psychology, which is funny because last night I was doing a webinar. I talked a lot about sales psychology, and I was like, guys, if you really pull it all back, I use a fancy word, sales psychology. It's really common sense. It's just, it's taken the time to just stop and think, how would this sentence, phrase, whatever, make someone react? And it's really just being proactive about kind of predicting how human behavior naturally works. Like if I come running at you as fast as humanly possible and I'm a stranger, there's 3 ways you're going to react. 1, you run. 2, you punch me in the face. Or 3, you just completely freeze up because you don't know what to do. Like that is, and that's just natural human behavior. So if we can just think about natural human behavior, we can find a way to say, okay, I wouldn't like someone saying that to me. So how can I like soften this up? How can I make this nicer? How can I make this more polite? There's a million ways to talk to humans that isn't weird, right?
And I think that's too where you get to find your own voice.
Yeah.
And that's where I think helps you connect with the right people, because
Yeah.
then you're truly talking like how you would speak to your best friend or your ideal client, rather than just the way you think you're supposed to sell something.
Yes. And that's where we all get into a lot of trouble, is when we make assumptions about how something is supposed to be versus asking, what do I want it to look like? I mean, I wrote an entire book on leadership because of that exact assumption about leadership, right? Like, leadership, kind of like what you said about sales, leader's supposed to know all the answers. And if I don't know all the answers, what am I doing trying to mentor somebody? Because, and it's this BS thing that we have made up about, like, we need to be perfect because somewhere we got the idea that the people we look up to are perfect.
Right.
And it's ridiculous. Like, we're all just humans. Like, we're just humans. Like, that's it. None of us are perfect. We all screw up. We all had to literally strike out 1,000 times before we made any hits. And that's just what it is. And I think that brings us up to, like, kind of the last thing that you wanted to chat about, which was resilience. You know, so talk to me a little bit about resilience. I know that this is something, again, that can come with some negative content if it's like taking like out of context, but like, let's talk about what resilience really is.
Yeah, I think it is a huge piece of being able to be successful. You know, anything that you're promoting, anything that you're selling, the goal isn't for it to be for everyone, right? And so the way that I look at it, as the people that aren't interested, the people that say, you know, no thanks, the people that maybe don't respond to whatever you're offering, those are just weaning out the people who this wasn't meant for in the beginning, right? Because I don't know about you, but when I am like offering a product or service, my best experiences and the things that just like fill my cup and make me so excited as a business owner are when I really get to connect with someone, right? And so that comes from, again, finding my people. And so it starts with this mindset, again, of it's not what those people are saying is about me or who I am or the quality of what I'm offering. It's about what's right for them right now, which I know is something that you talk about so much too.
Yeah, no, that it's so freaking important. And this is another part of really good sales, is we make it about them, not about us. Right? So it's like, you're on a journey. Like, I literally reached out to you and was like, hey, would you want to do a call swap? You know, I'll speak for your team. You could speak on the podcast. And the reality is, you could have not responded. And that could have meant 1,000 different things. One of those things could be, yeah, I've seen this guy online, I don't really like him. Not it. Which, by the way, would be fine, because we don't even know each other on like a personal level. So why would I be offended if you didn't like me? We don't even know each other, right? But that's like the story we try to make up. But it's also just possible, like, oh, I didn't know that you also have a full-time job. So like, you're essentially running 2 businesses. Maybe you're just busy. Maybe you just have other things going. There's like a million things that can be going on in the background. And I think we make it about ourselves.
100%.
And that's where we get in a lot of trouble, because if you make it about yourself, there will always be a story for why you're not good enough. And you're just feeding that story over and over and over and over. And while you're feeding that story, there's someone else on the other side of that message that's struggling and needs your help.
Right.
You're not going to reach.
And you, 100%. And you probably like know that the actual stats behind this or whatever, but we get so hung up on the negative, right? Like, it's so easy that our brain goes to the negative. There might be 500 people that are interested and one that says no, but the thing we're going to focus on is not the 500 people that had a positive reaction. It's the one that had the negative. And so I think it's like, focus on the next person that you can impact, right? Like, focus on finding the next one rather than, you know, the one person who maybe wasn't into it right now.
Right. Yeah. And going back to what you said, I do think this is so important, is to understand that, like, not everyone is for your product, your program. Not everyone is for you. And that's great. That's great, because, you know, like 95% of the people that are in this industry, I have found, are introverts anyways. So I always kind of joke. I'm like, what is the deal with all of you introverts that are so upset that more people didn't want to hang out with you? Like, that should be your grade. Like, you should, if you send a message to someone and they ghost you, you should be excited because you don't even like to talk to people. So like, why would you want to talk to more people than is necessary? What we want to do, what any really good marketing plan does, is gets really freaking specific about exactly who they want to work with. Because if you try to advertise to everyone in the world, that's just expensive, right? That will cost so much money. That's why I think billboards are so stupid. I'm driving down the highway every day, and I'm just like looking at billboards like, what are you doing right now? You just spent thousands of dollars for people of all ages, all genders, all interest groups to have to see this, and only 10% of us care. It's the worst. Yeah. But that's what we do when we care too much about what everyone thinks about us versus how do I just go find the couple of people that like I'm supposed to serve that want to hang out with me. Boom. Everyone else. If everyone else ghosts me, that's a really great sign because that means I narrowed it down.
Right. And then I also find that when you have that like deep connection with the people that are truly your people, you are able to work smarter, not harder, because they also know somebody who probably fits exactly your niche as well. And they maybe tell them word of mouth. Then you didn't even post anything, right? Or like you didn't even try to target that person. And you just were able to provide such a specific experience that this person needed that they're going to tell other people.
Fully agree. And that's one of the most under-talked things about in our industry is referrals. You know, and you don't have to have a full-on referral program with bonuses and opt-ins and things like that. I mean, literally something John Maxwell taught me, that the most powerful question you need to ask every single person is like, who do you know that I need to know? And that's honestly one of the number one ways I grew my business was landed a client. Cool. I really liked that client. Like, who do you know that does something similar? Because if I helped you solve a problem, the people you know have similar problems, I'll probably be pretty good at their problems too. And before you know it, people think you're a freaking expert. And the reality is you just have a couple problems you're really good at solving and connected with the people that have. It doesn't mean I'm good at solving any other problems in life. I mean, I like to think I've gotten better at life, but like the reality is I have a couple things I'm really good at, and that's what I get paid for. And I think going back to something you said earlier, we think we gotta I don't know all the answers. I gotta have everything that everybody needs. No, I just need to have conversations about things that I'm really confident about and leave everything else for someone else to take care of.
Right. It is that like exceptional customer experience, and then ask 100%.
Yeah, I love that. Shelby, thank you so much for being on with us today. I appreciate it so much. Where can people go to find you, learn more about what you got going on, and hang out with you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is super fun. I'm primarily on Instagram at Shelby Hughson. My last name is Hughson.
Did you say it's Shelby Hughson?
Yes.
Okay, so no Y. So it's not your full name.
Y.
Okay, no Y.
Just Shelby.
So you're going to see in the caption of this podcast that her name is Shelby Hughson. Okay, but for the sake of Instagram, leave off the E. It's just Shelby Hughson, Hughson. Thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it so much. I know everyone enjoyed this. Guys, the thing with sales that is probably like anything else, one of the hardest parts. I know I talk a lot about on this podcast. I talk a lot about how like mindset isn't going to fix everything, but it is the foundation of everything. So even with sales, with recruiting, with leadership, like whatever it is you got to do in your business, even though we need the tactical strategy, we also have to make sure we overcome the limiting beliefs that are keeping us from taking action, because it is in the action that we learn. So please don't forget that. Re-listen to this a couple times. If you're caught on some of these things, listen to it a few times. I love you guys so much. I believe in you. Remember that everything you need is already on the inside, and all the resources you'll ever need are right under your nose. Have a great day, guys. This is something that if you are willing to fall on your face, you can do it. The question is, are you willing to get back up? My name is Josh, and I'm your push coach. I'm the #1 best-selling author of F Leadership, and for the last 6 years, I've helped over 40,000 entrepreneurs to take ownership of their businesses and create tangible results that have changed their businesses and lives forever. Let's dive in.